Because you didn't know how to take care
to
of
go
the
inside
first.
Yeah.
So we do that.
Someone hadn't reminded me yet it was an inside job. Now, I'm
Right.
sure someone,
Right.
maybe a dozen people had.
Right.
I just wasn't ready to hear it.
Which is so beautiful, because that's the subtitle of my book. Success is an inside job, and it is.
It is.
But it is a process to get to
Yes.
that point of understanding
Yeah.
that everything we create comes from inside ourselves.
Yeah. So
We
for me,
really
it's awareness.
We can't get outside validation. I mean, we get it, but it's really meaningless.
Right. I love reminders, and those kind of validations work for me really well. When I do a session with you, Cindy, and you go, here's what's going on, Jade, and I go, okay, that makes perfect sense. Or when I get your
Right.
weekly reminder and my day
Right.
goes a bit haywire and I go back in my inbox and look.
But that's different than ego stroking.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, I think a tendency is to want to have their ego stroked. Oh, you did so well. You're so successful. You're so attractive. Whatever it is, that's ego stroking. That is very superficial.
Yes.
And it fades away quickly, and it really has no meaning. Not the same as when you actually confront your own limiting beliefs and say, really, I am okay. I am enough, I am good, I'm here with a purpose. Which it sounds like to me with Awakened Sister, you have aligned with some kind of a purpose.
Yeah.
now.
I have gotten to where it's my purposeful work. So I went from Viking roofing actually to a company which I started called Tides of Change.
Okay.
And then I had some corporate work, and they didn't know how to work Tides of Change through the corporate world.
Didn't have the right
title. Feel.
Yeah.
So I asked again, and I was delivered with ask. And I said,
Okay, let's go back.
Delivered with.
I asked, what does that mean? I asked.
What I asked means to me
What does
is
that mean?
I went inside and asked for guidance from the divine. So for me, the divine is God, and I do a lot of listening, and I'm become much clearer over the past decade or so on hearing what is my best step from the inside.
Okay, so listening, you mean meditating? You mean, what does it look like for you? What is that? Because for a lot of people, they don't know what that means. What does
Sure.
that mean, go inside? What does that mean?
Well, honestly, I do meditate off and on, but I do wakeful meditation often.
What's that?
It means I'm meditating while I'm doing more than just sitting there with my hands.
So maybe doing the dishes?
Doing the dishes,
walking.
actually walking around is a lot of times. Outside
walking.
is one of the very best for me as a
Yes.
walking meditation.
I do that too.
And when it's work, I tend to walk from my office to my conference room. And I'll walk back and forth. And often
You pace.
I pace.
Yeah.
And there's a corner of my conference table where most of the information lands. I have no idea. There's an anchor there.
Yeah.
That's where the information is going to come in. And what I mean by an anchor is it's an area where it's happened before. So
literally, when you walk by that area in your room,
Yep.
the thought will
The
come
thought
to you,
will
or
come-
the
the
clarification, or do you hear a voice? Do you hear words? Do you
I
see
actually-
pictures?
I'm more of a knower, and
You
I
just
hear.
feel it. You know it.
I feel it, know it, and then I do hear. I am clairaudient, is what the world of intuition would call a hearer.
Yes.
And I actually hear a group energy, which has been determined by other intuitives as a group called the divine.
Right. So it's how you are being guided, and I talk a lot about this in my book, and I
Yeah.
am a huge believer because I have experienced it myself, and I don't want to say, I'm going to retract that. I'm not a believer, I'm a knower. Believing is when we think something, but knowing is knowing, and you feel it in your body, you know it's true. And I know, as you're saying, and this is such an important thing for women in business to really understand, that when you allow yourself the downtime to not be engaged in conversation or caretaking or whatever else that fills your day, where you take those few minutes, can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you can take for yourself, where you're just quiet with yourself, your own connection to the divine energy can get activated. It's like the phone, it's like the connection is made. You've called that number. Now the connection happens and information can be given to you. And it's unique for you. It's your guidance.
Absolutely.
And everyone has it, correct?
Everyone has it. I believe
Everyone
everyone has wonderful intuition, and the slowing down
Yes.
is key. I had a coach who challenged me
Yes, to
to
slow down.
And I literally had a sticky note taped on my desk and taped over it so it would stay. You know, what would happen if I slowed down enough to receive what is here for me.
Right.
And it probably took me 9 months.
And do you think that part of the buzziness of our culture and the speed is actually to keep us from being, it's actually counterintuitive. It keeps us from connecting. And that's what we need more than anything, is that connection.
I would agree. I would agree that the connection is what we really need, that the buzziness and the frequency of society is blocking that. But again, we're all at choice.
Okay, let's talk about that. So I would say the majority of people do not feel that they have a choice, that there is certainly in our world, in our society, a victim consciousness. Oh, look what happened. Look what they did. This happened to me. You know, how could it have anything to do with me? Choice seems to go bypasses that. Could you talk about choice and how you work with people to help them see choice?
I'm actually going to give you an example in my own life.
Great.
As you see me sitting here at still over 200 pounds, in December, I went, I'm playing victim. Now, remember I said I feel things?
Yes.
I'm highly empathic.
What does that mean to be empathic?
What empathic means to me is that my intuition often comes via feelings. And it can be so intense that if somebody in the same room with me, back before I learned how to manage it, and that's the best way I can describe it, is as opposed to controlling it, I manage it. Could tell you if someone had something going on inside their physical body, actually went down into the organs. I could tell if someone had uterine cancer. I couldn't necessarily tell you exactly what it was, but I could tell you where the pain was.
Right, so you can literally feel other people's pain.
I could feel other people's pain.
Okay, that would be exhausting.
We actually worked in a session one day, and you said to me, Jade, it's like you have this great big peasant skirt on with all these pockets, and in every pocket you have everybody else's pain that you've decided to carry with you. Now that's probably been a year and a half ago, and I heard you, and I've told other people that story. At the same time, I hadn't owned yet that I was playing victim. So we have a couple choices if we're playing victim. If you're doing the victim behavior, you need to own that you're doing it.
For instance, what does that mean, own it?
Own it means knowing that you created it.
You chose it.
Chose. It's a choice thing.
So let's go back to the weight. So how did you feel victimized by your weight?
I was victimized by my weight because my butt didn't fit in airline seats. It didn't fit in all different things. And I would choose to not go and do adventurous things because, number one, if you're carrying around, I was actually carrying at that time an extra 120 pounds. So now I'm carrying an extra 80. So, you're carrying around that much. You're carrying a whole person with you as you're attempting to do things.
Maybe as protection, do you think some people?
A lot of the intuitives in my world have told me it's protection, that I hold a huge energy field, and because of that, at the same time, again, another excuse.
Yes.
God wouldn't have made me the way I am to necessarily carry around all this. So when you mentioned I feel other people's pain that I'm in a room with, I don't have to be in the room with them, Cindy.
Yes.
So the earthquake that happens in Chile, the tidal wave that happens in different parts of the world, I feel that. When Katrina happened, I was in a deep depression for 3 days and had no idea why, because I don't watch the news.
Oh, so you didn't even
and
know
for
what
some
happened,
reason,
but
no
you
one
knew.
had told me.
Right.
And I normally hear what I need to hear. I just prayed that whatever was going on was getting help. And I was on an airplane going to Oahu, and I heard someone say, well, you know about New Orleans and Katrina. And so
you were like, what?
What?
Yeah.
So I started asking questions, and then it was like, that's what's going on. So, when your body and your energy rolls, often you want to change that, right? So if I'm depressed because a lot of the world and a lot of the country is laid off right now, right? Suffering. Yeah, they're living a different life than they want to live, and I'm feeling that. One of the ways to change, easiest ways to change energy, at least how I learned as a child, was to eat. So there's emotional eating.
Because it numbs you, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Well, or it changes it. So if you eat sugar, it'll
Wee!
wee for a little while. So emotional eating is eating for your own emotions. Empathic eating is for eating for the emotions around you or the emotions like of the country or of the world.
I have never heard that term, empathic eating. I love that. I think that is such an important concept. I think many women do that.